Now I'm here.
Now you're here. So Skip Brown, tell us how you founded Freedom Builders and what part of the territory you work up here.
23 years ago, actually 25 years ago, I was on my way back from a mission trip in Atlantic City with 13 teenage junior high girls in a van, driving all the way back from Atlantic City. And I think the beginning of it was the whole way back, God was saying, "Be still and know that I am God." And took about 2.5 years for my thick head to get the idea of what he really wanted us to do. But we left work and began a ministry when we didn't even know that we knew we needed a 501c3 certification, but we didn't have it. And we just started serving. And that's really the beginning. And God has orchestrated so many things along the way. When we didn't know what we didn't know, God stepped in and filled in holes in ways that we couldn't have ever imagined. Before I got myself in trouble with not being a 501c3, God brought a guy to us and asked us if we'd join his ministry for a time. And that he had an accountant and an attorney on staff. Actually knew how to establish a nonprofit ministry. So, yeah.
So tell us the kinds of things that you do for people when they sign up for. Are there any limitations, and what kind of projects do you find?
There really isn't anything that, I don't like saying that. There really isn't anything we don't do. We're not very good at wells, and we don't move. We're not great with excavation equipment. But short of that, that's about all that we don't. We don't build new. We build, we renovate, but some of your folks have been on projects where we've literally gutted the interior of a trailer and started all over again. And probably 73% of our families live in manufactured housing. And quite honestly, some of the families we serve live in conditions that I dare say most of you would not even imagine existed. There's homes with dirt floors. There's homes, I had a single mom for 7 years, had no heat in her home. We've literally right now got a 93-year-old lady in Central Lake that doesn't have heat except for temporary heaters that we've got for her. We've had people, before we were given enough information to be able to serve, we lost an 87-year-old lady who froze to death all by herself. That happens in your community. Actually, that location was about 15 miles from here. A lot of years ago, we don't let that happen very often anymore. We have great relationships with the government agencies that we get calls from 47 different government agencies to ask us to serve. I used to think it was in spite of the fact that they knew that we were going to remind people that they are loved, they're cared for, that the God of all creation hasn't forgotten them. But I can tell you today that I know a bunch of social workers who frankly know that that's why they call us. It isn't in spite of it, it's because of it. They know that people live. Housing conditions are terrible. But what's worse is a sense of hopelessness, a sense that they don't matter to anybody. And you and I know that they do, but they don't know that. And unless a bunch of weird people show up willing to work on a house that is in a deplorable condition, and they don't understand why you're there. They know that their home is a terrible place to be, because we're going to ask you to work in some pretty difficult places sometimes. And they know it's difficult. And when you, and honestly, I'm not just blowing smoke. Most pastors in the 5 counties we serve get tired of us talking about this odd church over in Kalkaska that every time we call them, they show up no matter what we ask them to do. They do it with joy. You guys have served, the people that have served with us have served with joy and passion and enthusiasm. And it is a wonderful demonstration of the love of Christ to people. They know they're asking you to do difficult things. And when you do it with joy, and there's a fair amount of laughter that goes on from time to time. And when that happens, it catches them off guard. And once in a while, they want to know why. And then we get to tell them.
Yeah. So when we show up, you have a trailer full of supplies, a trailer full of equipment. Where does all the money come from to fund that? Because we just show up with bodies and get after it.
We have about 70% of our income comes from individuals who give regularly to the ministry. We only do one fundraiser a year, and even that's funny, because this year we had the lowest turnout at our fundraiser this year. And woe is me, I was doubtful, and shame on me. And I was worried. And yet I'll tell you that we had less people than we've ever had at our fundraising event. We raised more money than we have in 15 years. God works in amazing and wonderful ways.
When is that event usually held?
Usually it's the third Wednesday in August.
Okay. So if you want information about that, I went one time and it's amazing. Like they'll say, we need 55 windows paid for, and I don't know the cost of a window, but let's say it's $200. And people just start raising their hand. It's like an auction, but it's a reverse auction. You get nothing for it. You're just giving the money. It's just crazy to watch it. But it's great food and a lot of fun.
It is. We have Ebles come up and cater for us. We have an opportunity, I think, because we show a video that night, we have an opportunity for you to see, probably in the most graphic way, the reason that the money is spent. It's funny, it's easy to see the physical work, the houses that we work on. That's easy to keep track of. The amount of we build 70 wheelchair ramps a year or more. We renovate 35 bathrooms at least in a year. We do probably 18 or more roofs in a year. We've already replaced 7 furnaces this year. But what really matters and what you'll see is the opportunity. We have the opportunity to interview some of our families on video, and I saw one guy in tears. I can tell you his life was a mess. He was an alcoholic, and he was working on being dry. And we had a bunch of college-age kids putting a roof on his house. He sat on his back porch as that was going on, and we were interviewing him, and he said, in tears, he said, this is what church is. People loving people that sometimes think they're pretty unlovable.
The other thing that I love about Freedom Builders is that they are not a church. They basically energize and deploy the church. And so when we go, Skip is not trying to send them to a church somewhere. We have the opportunity to speak with the people that live in those homes and to tell them about Kalkaska Church of Christ. We give them a Bible at the end of the project, and we all sign the Bible that we worked on, the project that was there. So it's an opportunity for them to connect these people with the church. So I love that about what you do with the ministry.
That's probably the most important thing for you guys to understand. In fact, as I sat here thinking about coming up here, literally, nobody here has got an excuse not to serve. Because honestly, what we need more than the guys building the wheelchair ramp or renovating the bathroom, what we need more than anything is that person who's willing to go back 2 weeks after we built the wheelchair ramp and just check in with the family. Just check in and say, if you honestly have been praying for them, tell them you've been praying for them. Tell them, I believe if you've been praying for them, God will put them on your mind as well. Tell them that. Because when you speak to some of these families and you tell them, I just wanted to check in with you because I've been thinking about you, because they don't think anybody's thinking about them. And when you show up and do that, those words that I've been thinking about you are life-changing. they potentially mean way more than, I don't want to take anything away from the guys that serve, but those words can probably have more impact than the wheelchair ramp we built or the bathroom we renovated. So if you can speak, we can use you.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to have an activity. So Jeff, go ahead and make your way up here. I just want to leave you with this for the interview portion of this, is that if you would have interest in working on any of these projects, you don't have to say yes every time, but if you want to be in that group text, let me know, because when they text and say, Andy, we're going to do this, can you guys come? I always say yes. And sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's 8 people, sometimes it's 12 people. But if you want to be on that list, let me know. We work during the week because their guys want to take the weekends off too. So I know you got to get rid of some of that pesky vacation time sometimes. But if you want to be a part of that, we'd love to have you join us with those projects. And go to freedombuilders.com.
Freedombuilders.org.
Freedombuilders.org if you would like more information about what they do, their history, and also that event, the fundraising event coming up. I'm sure they'd love to have you visit that. And sometimes they have projects over in Travers on the weekend where you're like, let's go check that out. All right?